Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the complex, highly nuanced, but absolutely fascinating real estate landscape of South Florida. Specifically, we're zeroing in on the Hollywood, Florida market through the lens of Mora Realty. They're a local boutique real estate practice that handles the whole shebang, everything from residential leasing to heavy-hitting commercial investments. So, if you've ever wondered how the most successful property transactions in this region are actually executed, well, you're in exactly the right place.
So, what makes or breaks a real estate deal down here in South Florida? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? Most people just assume it's all about macroeconomic trends, interest rates, national inflation, big demographic shifts. But the truth is, success in this specific market is rarely about the macro. It's almost entirely about the hyperlocal details. The tiny things that generalist agents overlook are exactly what can collapse a multi-million-dollar transaction or turn a really promising investment into a total liability.
Okay. Let's dive right into this. The absolute most crucial thing to understand is that the Hollywood landscape is not a monolith. You literally can't treat a property on one side of a street exactly the same as a property 3 blocks away. Hollywood is a true market of micro-neighborhoods. The conditions, the zoning, the expectations, they all shift block by block. To succeed here, you need a level of granular, boots-on-the-ground knowledge that you just can't get from a quick internet search.
These are the distinct pockets that Mora Realty covers every single day. You've got the coastal dynamic of Hollywood Beach, the strict historic zoning of Hollywood Lakes, and then those highly personalized luxury markets like the gorgeous gated community of Harbor Islands right here in Hollywood. Not to mention neighboring hubs like Dania and Hollandale Beach. Each one is an entirely different ecosystem of buyers, sellers, and renters. Applying a one-size-fits-all strategy across these micro-neighborhoods? Yeah, that's just a recipe for leaving money on the table.
And here is exactly why that hyperlocal knowledge is absolutely non-negotiable. Pricing fluctuates, obviously. But then you have homeowner association rules that can dictate everything from your rental rights down to the exact shade of beige you're allowed to paint your mailbox. You've got insurance requirements that completely change depending on flood zones and rental demand that shifts dramatically based on hyperlocal amenities. Let me ask you this. How could a generalist agent, someone who just dips in and out of 20 different cities a year, possibly track all these shifting rules? Simple. They can't. You need a hyperlocal expert to prevent massive, expensive surprises.
Section 1. Integrated Real Estate Solutions, Navigating the Full Cycle.
And this brilliantly illustrates the power of that integration. Imagine a small business owner whose primary need is buying a commercial storefront. Because Mora Realty operates a full-service agency, they can instantly coordinate the residential move that this purchase unlocks for that owner. Or think about an investor going a mixed-use property. They don't have to guess what the residential units upstairs are going to yield because Mora Realty brings their specific rental market analysis right to the table. Cross-pollinating these services provides a massive, seamless advantage to clients who need multiple sides of a deal handled all at once.
Section 2. Commercial Deals by the Numbers.
Now, commercial real estate in Hollywood requires a much slower, highly deliberate approach. It's an entirely different beast from buying a single-family home. Residential deals are overwhelmingly decided on lifestyle fit. Does the kitchen get good morning light? Is the backyard big enough for the dog? Commercial deals, on the other hand, are decided purely on the math. Mora Realty operates on the core philosophy that every single input, capital expenditures, financing costs, realistic rent rolls, has to be scrutinized. They walk you through the model until every single number is believable and grounded in reality. Now, what's really interesting about this is how those local micro-market factors bleed right into the commercial math. You aren't just looking at generic return on investment formulas. You have to factor in local zoning nuances. Like, what are the strict parking ratios required by the city? Is the building going to need expensive hurricane code retrofits? What are the specific tenant mix trends right now along major arteries like Federal Highway and Hollywood Boulevard? Any single one of these hyperlocal variables can swing a deal's underwriting by a massive margin. To mitigate those risks, Mora Realty uses a really deliberate 3-step commercial process. Step 1. Establish a written scope so the criteria, like asset type and price band, are firmly locked in as a filter for every lead. Step 2. Underwrite strictly against realistic numbers, never overly optimistic projections. And Step 3. Direct closing coordination. They're heavily involved in drafting the letter of intent, reviewing estoppels, and finalizing lease clauses so your operating costs and exit terms are fully understood long before a single signature hits the page. This methodology provides clarity and really protects long-term value.
And speaking of underwriting, different asset types require entirely different analytical lenses. If you're looking at small multifamily buildings along the coastal corridor, the analysis leans heavily on rent roll stability and turnover costs. But if you pivot to single-tenant retail on those major arteries, the focus shifts entirely to tenant credit in the remaining lease term. You have to properly frame the asset against your actual return targets and tax posture to make the right call.
Section 3. The No Gatekeeper Advantage. Direct client communication.
This brings us to what I consider the absolute real game changer of Mora Realty's business model: how they actually communicate with you. On one side of the industry, you have the typical experience, broad generalist searches and dealing with endless layers of assistance where your messages just get lost in the shuffle. On the other side, you have Mora Realty's no gatekeeper model: deep local market data paired with a direct line to a licensed professional. Listen, commercial transactions might move slowly for good reasons, like due diligence, but they should never, ever move slowly just because your broker is unresponsive.
I absolutely love this quote, straight from their practice. Every call and text comes straight to me, the licensed Florida real estate agent you'll be working with. Think about how crucial that direct access is. When a landlord needs a rapid decision on a lease by the end of the day, or an investor is agonizing over whether to hold or refinance a property, they can't afford to wait 48 agonizing hours for some assistant to pass along a message. Direct access literally means faster, better-informed decisions.
So the crucial point here is that getting in touch is incredibly simple. Mora Realty doesn't operate physical walk-in offices that waste overhead and time. It's a direct line. You can call or text 954-833-1371 7 days a week, with typical responses within 1 business day, and usually way faster if you reach out between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. It's just a much more modern, streamlined, and highly personal way of doing real estate.
Which leaves us with this final, really important question to ponder. Who is actually drafting your next purchase agreement? Is it someone who intimately knows the block-by-block nuances of Hollywood? Is it someone you can text directly for a candid read on a cap rate? Or are you just lost in a layer of assistance? The hyper-local details absolutely matter, and who represents you dictates whether you leverage those details for profit or fall victim to them. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and we'll see you next time as we continue breaking down the strategies that truly drive success.